fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
Hello, Salt Strong Nation. Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again. And I got my main man, Captain Peter Deeks. What's up, brother?
Well, welcome, Salt Strong Nation. It's so good to be here, and thanks, Joe, for having me on this podcast. And I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today.
Well, just like you've probably lost count of how many redfish you've caught, I've lost count on how many times you've been a guest on the show. So thank you. It's probably number 5 or 6 probably now. But we're talking about the ultimate redfish course. This is an online course that is unlike anything that we've ever done. And I don't remember the exact day or even the month you approached me, but this was back in 2022. It was shortly after Peter had done some of this underwater bait forensics. He's like, hey, man, it'd be really neat to do a redfish course. But unlike our redfish mastery course that we have, this really Luke is the instructor, and it was mostly artificial lures, even though he talks about live bait. It was really, for the most part, one person's perspective, really good. And it was one person's perspective on catching redfish in a consistent way using lures. And so Peter had the idea of, hey, let's get a bunch of experts. Like, hey, let's get a couple in Texas. Let's get some in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. Let's get some in Florida, Georgia. I'm going to have to say every single state, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. Let's get an expert or 2 or 3 in every single state that there's redfish. And let's get them on an interview and talk about all of their shortcuts and all their tips and exactly how they're targeting redfish year round. And not just lures, but lures and live bait and cut bait. And talk about the differences in approach and rigging and everything on how we target slot redfish versus the big bull reds. And it's really fascinating because even though we all say a redfish is a redfish is a redfish, because it is, at the end of the day, redfish are pretty simple. They only have a couple concerns in life. You know, 1 is eating, and 2, not getting killed, and 3, trying to reproduce. But there are nuances in each one of these states. And so I think this is going to be an absolute awesome course. And for any of you who've taken our courses before, and, you know, the only complaint I've ever seen is, hey, I wish there was a little bit more for my state. Well, we got you covered here. So this is going to be a real fantastic one. So I wanted to bring Peter on, just talk a little bit about it. You've been working on this for a long time. And 2, I'd love to hear any kind of aha moments you had or any nuances that really stood out. We can't share everything, obviously, because it's in the course and it's all video based. But I'd love to hear the experience you had creating this ultimate redfish course.
Sure. Well, first of all, I highly recommend watching Luke's course. If you haven't already, the Redfish Mastery course, like, you should watch that in addition to this. He did such a fantastic job. But, you know, after we spoke a couple of times about doing this course, you know, there's a huge need for a comprehensive redfish course that makes it very simple. We weed out all the chafe, all the stuff that's not that important, and we get down to the nitty gritty, the things you need to know, the right bait, the right tackle. But we also focus on each state. And, you know, I'm not an expert in, you know, other states. So we found the expert in these states from Texas all the way around Virginia, and we interviewed them, and they show us where and how to catch redfish in all seasons, smaller redfish and the large bull redfish. And so whether you're a shorebound angler or you're a boat angler or a kayak angler, this course is going to help you catch redfish where you live. And it's really simple. You know, redfish are not a complicated species. They're very aggressive. They eat all sorts of different kinds of food. And based on where you live, there's certain environments that attract them more than others. You know, there's that 90-10 rule for most fish. Mm-hmm. Redfish are like, you know, 99% of the redfish live in 1% of the area. So it's a really neat course. We had a great time filming it. I learned a lot myself. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is to watch, and I'll continue to rewatch all of the experts, because experts in each of these states gave me tips and ideas and aha moments for me to apply fishing in Florida. So, I fish redfish a lot along the Space Coast with my charters and in tournaments and things like that. And the things that I've learned from these other experts, even though they might live in Virginia or Texas, I can apply that where I live. So I learned some really cool stuff myself.
That's all. And you had some pretty, big names too. I mean, people who have been around the block for quite some time. You got some tournament, like legit tournament winners in there, and got some. I was very impressed with the kind of the guides, the experts. Is it 11 total? Is that the final number?
Yeah, I think it's 12.
12.
I'll
okay.
have to recount, but we did like 11 state experts, I think, and then a 12. So we have Captain Ryan Rickard, who's been killing the tournament circuit. He just won like the biggest redfish tournament there is. And so we interviewed him on how to locate redfish, because he's got to find redfish in every area when he fishes that for tournaments. And so to help us locate redfish and these experts. But yeah, we wanted to find the right expert, right? So if you talk to maybe a really good redfish guide or captain in a state, but they hold their cards close to home. So they might give out, I noticed I'll go to some seminars and you've got these guys that are great at catching fish, but they don't want to share the secrets, right? They hold it close to their heart and they're not going to give out the right information. They're going to give you a generic view. And then at the same time, you don't want to interview a beginner that's going to give you all the information because they're not that experienced. So we really culled out the right experts for each state. And they were the best people that I thought that we could find for those areas. So Ryan and Rickard covered that. We have Luke, who did the Gulf side of Florida, which is fantastic. We have in Louisiana, we have a legendary tournament angler. He owns a sporting goods shop. He's a charter captain, or was a charter captain, Ray Shagnard. If you're a red fisherman in Louisiana, you're going to know who he is.
Yep.
We have Captain Chad Pedrick in Texas. But yeah, we got lots of great captains. Everybody that we have is fantastic, and they give out the right information, where to find the redfish and how to catch them.
Yeah, it's awesome. We did this one other time with a flounder course, and it was one of our most successful courses in terms of just overall reviews. And I think it was because we framed it very similar. We only had 7 experts, like 7 flounder experts. It was tough to find anyone in Florida. Why? Because I mean, who do you know that is like truly targets flounder year round in Florida? It's very few people do it. There are a couple, but it's very, very tough to find someone who targets flounder year round in Florida. It's usually kind of more a bycatch in a lot of areas like Tampa Bay. But yeah, you found some just amazing guides, and I'm really, really pumped for all of you to see this. And I agree with you. Luke's separate course is amazing, especially if you're an insider member and already have the VIP access to every single course we do. No brainer to not to go through that. That's still, I believe, our top selling overall course of like all time. Just to your point, Peter, it's super simple, and that's what I love about this one. You guys have really just kind of put a recipe in place for each state, and there's some videos that kind of apply everywhere as well. But the emphasis is always on where to find them, because even if you have the nicest yellowfin boat like Captain Deeks, and regardless of how lively your bait is, if you're not in that 90-10 or 99-1 zone, as Peter said, you're not going to catch fish. So there's a huge emphasis on how to find them in each season, which I absolutely love. And speaking of that, I'd love to hear your thoughts just right now. As we're recording this here, we're still in the summer. It's been a really hot one, not just in Florida, but it seems like everyone I've talked to in Texas, they're hitting records. Virginia's hitting records. Where are redfish right now? Are they all sitting in deeper pockets and holes and ledges? What's going on? They seem like they're not in their normal places because it's been so stinking hot.
Yeah, so it has been hot. I measured the river temperature in the Indian River hotter than I've ever seen it. It was 94 degrees the other day. Got some big snook that just wouldn't fight. I mean, it's hot. But we also have some very negative low tide, and it's forcing the redfish off the shorelines and out of the mangroves. So we have hot water and they want shade, so they're gonna probably, I know they're gonna pull off the shoreline and they're gonna gravitate towards deeper docks with some nice current flow with bait presence. So they're going to sit in the shade and they're going to get down there, cool off. The water flow is going to keep them from having to swim. So the oxygen is going to come by them. They can sit in one place. Whereas if it was really stagnant, the redfish are going to have to move to get that oxygen. So very shallow grass flat is not going to be where you're going to look for redfish right now. You're going to pull out to deeper water, fish in that structure. That's where you're going to find the biggest concentrations of redfish right now, at least in my area.
Yeah, I think that's everywhere. I was telling you offline, Luke and I went out this week to film some videos and we're getting some underwater footage of a new lure. And anytime that we're getting footage of lures, we obviously prefer to catch fish on them. It makes the videos even more exciting. And so we went to one area where there's usually always some redfish and some occasional snook. And it was just textbook. I mean, you got a little mangrove island, you got oysters, you got a kind of a deeper channel nearby. And there's tons of bait. There's a grass flat on the other side of it. It's one of those that's got so much structure. You see it and you're like, all right, there's got to be fish there. Normally, we can count on there being fish there. You can't always catch them, but they're always there. And there was zero, like they were gone. And it was the first time I'd ever seen like no signs. And we tried to fish it at first and we're like, man, we're not getting any bites. And let's go up there closer and look on the trolling motor. And yeah, there was bait. Not much of it, but there was some bait, and they were mostly big mullet. I think those things can live in mud if they had to. But there wasn't any predator fish around. And that was the first thing that Luke said. He's like, I bet they're over on those docks. He was pointing to an area a little bit closer to, to the Gulf, a little bit closer to some of the bigger bridges. And he's like, I bet they're on those deeper docks over there. And so that would be my suggestion if you're trying to catch redfish like right now. Obviously watch the course because they talk about that, but right now, like as of this week, man, I would be hitting some deeper docks.
Yeah, it also, 2 tips. This time of year, take advantage of fishing at night around dock lights. The redfish can get very active at night. It's a lot cooler. And they're also going to gravitate. They're already on the dock. So if there's a light, that's where they're going to go. So this is a great time of year to fish at night around the dock lights,
yep,
especially in the shallower water. And another thing, the redfish are very focused on crustaceans. So they're not going to be roaming quite as much up and down the shorelines. They're going to be sitting in place. So it's a great time to get a live well full of shrimp, go along with your boat trolling motor, little split shot, and flip the shrimp up under the docks and just work the docks kind of quick like that. Good quick way to fish mangrove snapper and black drum and trout too. But it's a way to actively fish for the redfish and locate them. But it's a really fun way to fish. The redfish will let you get closer to them. The water's a little dirtier, and they're not going to want to leave that structure. So they're not going to be as spooky. So if you got some kids or a couple friends, it's a great time of year to go out there and fish those fish. But they're definitely going to focus more on crustaceans than a live bait, which swims a lot faster and it's a bigger meal. It's harder for them to digest.
No, that's a great tip. I'm curious, speaking of live bait, out of these 12 redfish experts that you interviewed in this ultimate redfish course, what percentage of them, I know they obviously probably know how to catch redfish on both lures or live bait. What percentage, though, is like live baiters, like their go-to is live bait versus lures?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. The majority of them definitely side with lures, which I was not really surprised with. But I had to fish out information because we wanted to cover lures and live bait, and they all wanted to cover lures. So because redfish are an active fish and they feed on all sorts of lures, I think that's a favorite. Snook get very spooky, so sometimes we have to switch over to live bait. But with the redfish, the experts love the artificial lures and keep it pretty simple. The power prawn, the slam shady, there's a couple others that, they mentioned some little secret lures, things like that. But artificial lures for redfish is definitely the majority favorite.
That's cool. Yeah, slam shady and power prawn aren't secret lures anymore. Everyone's got them.
Everybody's got them. And the Dr. Juice, they're scent feeding fish. And so having that scent on there is a big key.
The juice is loose.
Don't keep it in your pocket though when you wash your pants. That's a bad deal.
Yeah, we've had quite a few funny stories with old Dr. Juice and people leaving them in places. One guy he had I guess he had taken the top off for some reason. I don't know if the little applicator thing was jammed, so he took the top off in the back of his truck. and I either knocked it over or forgot it was there, like standing up with no top on at all, almost a full bottle, and the whole thing, you already know where I'm going with this, spill. And he's like, dude, my truck still smells like I can't get that smell out. It is quite pungent. Yeah, I can smell it even just in the laundry with, because I take, if I ever have like a lure rip that has anything, Dr. Juice on it, whatever, I always just put it in one of my pockets, so I can put it in the trash later instead of having it in the boat or flying out and getting in our waterways. And it's amazing just from having a lure that's been in the water, maybe even caught a fish, but had Dr. Juice on it. It smells your pants almost permanently. It's really wild how powerful that is. And that's how you know it's still working, folks. People are like, oh, I can't see it. I remember we used to hear that at the beginning, I can't see it like I can like a Procure or something. I was like, Procure, that's just marketing. It just because you can't see it doesn't mean anything. Fish are smelling this. They're not looking for it. And I was like, if you can smell it on your pants 3 days later, I guarantee you a fish who smells better than human is smelling it underwater. That stuff just flat out works.
It does. We have a cool little video proving that in this course. I don't want to spoil it, but it had a friend out there that we were filming and didn't get a bite. So we put it on, first cast, caught one of those redfish. That stuff works.
Turned him into a believer. Yeah. So if you're wondering, August 31st is the date we have. Depending on when you're listening to this, we're recording this and taking this live before the week before August 31st. But August 31st, 2023, in case you're listening to this in a different year, that is when this course goes live officially. Like always, we'll have usually a 2-day kind of a special pricing. That's what we've done with pretty much every course. So I'll just be honest and tell you what we do. Meaning, sometimes 50, 60, sometimes 80% off to get people in. And I'll tell you why we do it. One, we want to get people in. We want to make sure it's awesome. Before we do raise the price, we'd like to get testimonials. And then shortly after, we raise the price. And we always have some of our members, our VIP members, get it first. So they go through it and kind of tell us, hey, like, this is amazing. Usually there'll be one or two little videos that just need clarification where someone will say, hey, like, I wish you could, really zoom in on this one rig that you did or whatever it might be, or this one map, show me a little bit more and we'll go out and film more. So it's interactive. Where I'm going with all this is the best part. You can ask questions. Captain Peter Deeks can get involved. Some of the guides can get involved. Our coaches can get involved. We love any and all feedback from this course. So August 31st, be on the lookout for an email from us. And you have, like I said, usually 2 days to get in at that lower price before we raise it. So it's going to be awesome. I'm really pumped for everyone to see it. What were there any like in particular takeaways? I know when you and I were chatting, you talked about, just the location, meaning you got to find them first. Obviously is critical. Any other things that were really sticking out that certain guides may or may not have said?
So there's a few things that I think are really important that we worked really hard on this course. One is we did quite a bit of on the water actual fishing, and so you can see redfish eat. You can see, and we do some cut bait fishing where we walk you through the process from step A, B, C. We catch the redfish. We point out the locations of where you want to target. Sight fishing redfish with bait, how to rig live baits if you're going to be sight fishing. If you're going to be blind fishing, you can see the redfish in the water. We got some incredible eat, super fun, watching the redfish squirt down a shoreline and they're on a flat, come and eat the live mullet. We did the same with artificial lures. So we have some really cool eats, the redfish eating power prawns, goldfoons, tailing redfish, how to locate them. So we went up with Captain Alex Huey in the north part of the Indian River. He's a great captain and a good friend, and he push-pulled me and we switched back and forth. And, we were on the water. We located the redfish. We used a lot of different types of artificials. We caught them on boats, showed the retrieval rate of lures. So if you're a real beginner, this is going to show you everything you need to know. And if you're an expert, you'll be able to pick up on a lot of these expert points as well. And the other thing that's really important with this course, we did a land-based series that's included in here. And it's kind of that 90-10 rule. When you're fishing from shore, I grew up on the river. My parents had a dock on the Indian River, and I spent my summers, I spent thousands of days fishing from a dock. And there's certain places redfish roam, and there's a lot of places redfish don't. And so if you've got a house on the water, or you fish from a public fishing pier, if you fish from an inlet or a jetty or from the beach, we cover that. We show you where to cast your bait and what types of baits and lures to use. So this isn't just exclusive to boat fishermen. This will help you catch redfish. We did a series on kind of hiking into these public access points that are often overlooked by anglers. There's so many different hiking trails and things like that where you can get out and catch redfish in areas that are better than being in a boat. So if you don't have a boat, or you want to get on your bike or hike, you can hike to some really cool areas that are overlooked in all of these regions. So we cover a lot of cool things. So it's not just generic redfish, it's how you catch your redfish. We do some really neat stuff that I'm proud of, and I think it'll help everybody that watches this course. You will be a better redfish angler if you watch these videos. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I love the fact you mentioned that. This is certainly not just for boaters. This will apply to anyone: boating, kayak, paddleboard, wade fishing, any land-based pier, jetty, etc. So it is all covered. It is a lot of content, and I'm guessing, Peter, if it was you, how would you even start the course? Would you go to your state first and then kind of move around? What do you have a recommendation? Because I've been in there and it's like, wow, there's just so much stuff here. How would you start?
Okay, so it'll be broken down very in different chapters, let's say, like in a book. And I would watch your state first, and then I would start with the first video. So we organized it like that. So we've got artificial lures, and then we have live bait, and we show you how to rig artificial lures, which artificial lures are best, and how to retrieve them, what they look like underwater in a swimming pool. And then we go out on the water and we use those lures on the water and we catch redfish. And then we do, where to locate redfish, which you want to focus on your state for that location. And then just go through the whole series, watch all of the states, watch all of the experts, watch all of the videos. And some are much more entertaining than others. Some are kind of boring, but it's going to give you some information. And then some of them are super fun where we're sight fishing redfish with lures and live finger mullet, watching the redfish sneak up and eat the bait, which is super cool. But anyway, at the very end, rewatch your state. So you'll be able to look at these maps and listen to what the expert's saying, and you'll have a better knowledge of that. So I'd say watch your state at least twice, once beginning, once the end, and then watch all the videos in the middle. Love
it, man. Well, I can't wait for everyone to see this. August 31st. Be on the lookout. Make sure you're on our email list. If not, you can go to saltshore.com and join it. If you're already an insider member, you'll get a special email from us as well. And of course, if you're a VIP member or a lifer, because we have a lot of VIP and lifers, you guys get the course automatically for free. So don't pay for it. If you're a VIP or lifer, you will automatically get it. And Captain Deeks, thank you again. Awesome job. Can you tease the next course? Don't we have some more underwater stuff you've been working on for like 2 years?
It's been a long time. We're trying to do the best underwater mastery course where you get to see fish from drone perspective, from underwater perspective, watching them eat the bait and how they behave around dock pilings and in their natural behavior. And it's been very challenging to get the footage that we need to make this like a timeless sport that will never be beat. My one eye-opening thing with fishing was when I was probably 14 years old. I was watching on ESPN Outdoors. I think it was Bill Dance Outdoors, and they were fishing, actual live footage fishing, and then they started describing how they were fishing for these bass around these points, and then they brought it to like a computer CGI program, and it was, a cartoon, and they removed all the water, and they showed what the fish were doing and what the bottom contour looked like. And it was an artistic rendition, but it really opened my eyes. Like, I didn't look at the water, but looked at what was under the water. And the only way you can do that is really by scuba diving and snorkeling or looking at video footage underwater. And then you use your imagination with accurate information to map out what's underwater, what your bait's looking like, what your lures are looking like. And so that's what this course is designed to do. It's to help you know when you're fishing off of a pier and you look down at the pilings, like, what are those fish doing? Are they on the bottom? Are they up high? Are they swimming around? Are they sitting stationary? And the only way to do that is to catch those fish when the water's clear and capture that without them being disturbed. And then you can use that information to effectively fish anywhere that you fish. And we're trying to cover all the species. And as soon as I think we got it, it's like we need a lot more. And so we've got some really cool stuff because we can do it right now. We can launch it and it would be really cool. But we're really trying to make this great. We've been working on it a long time.
I love it. Yeah. As you said, easier said than done. What was that one? It was a movie, not Big Mouth or Bucket Mouth. What do you remember this one? This was like way before our time. We were really, really young when this videographer came out with it. I'm blanking on it. But it was the first movie where he was a diver. He was underwater and just showing what bass are really doing. And he was one of the first.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It had a name like Bucket Mouth or Big Mouth or something like that. I watched it a long time ago. But he was the first one. He would have it's another famous name, and I wish I had the names tip of my tongue. Hopefully someone listening can comment. But he had him, 40, 50 feet away in a bass boat, tossing up different lures up in front of him. So he's kind of hiding behind this brush, and the bass are right in between him and the guy. The guy's casting, and multiple times he's even watching these bass, how they react to the worm and how quickly they can suck the worm in and spit it out. And he like put his head up and he'd be like, "Hey, Bob, why didn't you set the hook?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I literally just filmed this bass sucking your worm down and you never even set the hook." He's like, "I didn't feel anything." And it was all these like aha moments they had from doing what you're talking about, just combining all that and watching them in their real habitat. But easier said than done. That took him like a decade to film all that stuff. So I hope it takes you less than a decade, but it will be well worth it when it comes out.
Yeah, like the one question my clients ask me with snook fish is, how long do I let it eat it? And a snook, when it eats a bait, it gobbles it up. It sucks it in. The whole, like a snook eating a 10-inch mullet, that mullet's in his mouth, the whole thing on one bite. And, once you see that, but without seeing that, like my customers don't really please me. I'm like, as soon as you feel the bite, set the hook. You've got it. And, if you can see that with all the different fish species, the sheephead, how it nibbles, like a bass, sucks the worm and spits out. If we can all do that, we'd be much better anglers. And it's like, it would take a textbook to teach you that 4 or 5 seconds watching it.
Yep. Here it is. It's Glenn Law. Do you remember Glenn Law? So it was called Big Mouth. Big Mouth Forever. And Glenn Law was the guy who filmed it. Really fast. It's still there. You can find like an older copy on even on YouTube or Amazon. You can buy one, but it was so cool. But I know that's kind of the same vision you have. You can just learn so much by filming them, and I'm really, really pumped for that. But for now, we've got another amazing course called the Ultimate Redfish Course. So be on the lookout next week, or depending on when you're listening to this. If it's already past August 31st, go to saltstorm.com and get your copy. Capt Deeks, we appreciate you big time, dude. Looking forward to seeing you hopefully here in the near future.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for having me and the opportunity. And Salt Nation, God bless you guys, and have a great day.
Whoop, whoop. All right, guys, we appreciate you big time, and we'll chat with you on the next episode. Peace.
Peace out. Pow!
Pow!
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was passed down to me from the days of old. To find us on the water if there was a way. It's been said my papa, he wrote the book on catching big reds and 20-pound snook. I wish I knew all the things he knew today. For he's the reason why we are this way. And he put fishing in our soul.